Welcome back, folks. Hope you're having a great week. This week, I'm really excited because I have added a big, bold brass engine to the fleet. It's a third rail DM&IR Yellowstone, and it's huge, and it's also really fragile, and I'm really afraid to touch it. But not only are we going to run it tonight, but we are going to talk about the rivalry between this famous Yellowstone and one of our favorites, the Union Pacific Big Boy 4014, the Clash of the Titans. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. The DM&IR Yellowstone was cataloged by Sunset Models in 2004 and released in 2005. Only 30 of these Yellowstone models were made, and each road number. A big shout out to trains.com, that's trains with a Z. I found this third rail item there, and they have plenty more. So take a look at their site, check it out, and use the promo code RBPTrains for $10 off your next order. Now, if you're not familiar with Sunset Models, they are another manufacturer of 3-rail O-scale and 2-rail O-scale models. They do a phenomenal job and specialize in highly accurate and super detailed models. As you'll see on this Yellowstone, it spares no detail. It has more details on it than any locomotive I've ever seen. And that's one of the reasons I'm so terrified to handle this engine. I'm afraid to touch it. I think we're just gonna leave it on the track. We'll put it in the engine shed when we're done. The engine is made completely out of brass, so all of the pieces on it are carefully applied. Because the model was made in 2005, the first thing I did was opt for an upgrade. Thanks to my friend Sid at Sid's Trains, he was willing to come to my house and upgrade my engine so I could release this video. It has a brand new board in it with cruise control, and I did retain the original sounds. I wanted to maintain the authenticity of this model. It does operate on TMCC. As we look at the 4014 tonight, as you all know, that's a Vision Line Legacy engine. Electronics are a little bit different, upgraded sounds, but as we listen to this Yellowstone model, I think we can appreciate the authenticity of the TMCC sounds that it shipped with in 2005. So haunting. It's like there's a ghost in here. The Union Pacific Big Boy is longer than the Yellowstone, as we can see here. But the Yellowstone in real life produced 140,000 pounds of tractive effort. Big Boy produced 135,000 pounds of tractive effort, which bring it in slightly under the Yellowstone. What adds to this great rivalry is the fact that both engines were built in the same year, 1941. The Yellowstone was built by Baldwin Locomotive Works, and the Union Pacific Big Boy was built by the American Locomotive Company. What an interesting time it must have been when these two giants rolled out of the factory. Both engines had huge jobs to perform. The Yellowstone pulling massive lines of heavy ore cars, and Big Boy tackling massive grades such as the famous Sherman Hill. There are 3 surviving Yellowstones today, but they're all on display in Minnesota. So if you're ever out that way, check them out. Amazing, massive locomotives. And as we all know, the 4014 Big Boy is running excursion trips. If you've been able to catch that engine in action, I am jealous. Very, very jealous. Come to the East Coast, 4014. Maybe, maybe not. The Yellowstone model we're looking at tonight is technically the second batch of Yellowstones that were produced, the M4, and it was produced in 1943. So let's look a little bit closer at this brass Yellowstone engine. Details, details, details. As we look down the boiler, look at all of the separately applied details. There are so many to see that it's almost difficult to catch them all with one camera pass. The side rods and the detailing around the wheels on this engine are outstanding. As we move around the front of the engine, you'll see the detailing on the front of the boiler. And as we move our way back to the cab, you can see all of the controls. You can see the way the lamp is positioned in the cab. Even between the cab and the tender, we have this additional detail that helps to close that gap that we traditionally see in O-gauge between the engine and the tender. Moving to the tender, you'll see a real coal load and a lot of detail on the top, including grab irons and a bell on the back, and a number of details down the side. And then, of course, our DM&IR stamping that make this model a huge presence on the layout. We've done a little bit of a review on the 4014 in prior videos, but as a refresher, let's take a look down the side of this engine. This is a Lionel Vision Line model, which in the world of Lionel is the most detailed model you can get. The engine is all die-cast, but contains a massive amount of separately applied details as well. It is one of my favorite models. It is outstanding, and it is still king of the layout. Okay, it's time for the rivalry to begin. Let's start with the Yellowstone, because this is one I haven't shown you yet, so let's listen to the sounds on this one first. Classic TMCC sound set. So if you're familiar with TMCC, you'll notice that that is the sound set that's in here. Again, thank you, Sid. Here comes the whistle. This is a whistle that's typically classified as what they call a hooter whistle, which sounds very eerie. It's very common in Norfolk and Western engines. But let me stop talking. Let's listen to it. Whew. It's like it's alone in the valley, hauling all of those ore cars. I'm almost afraid to be down in my basement by myself. And a little bit of the crew talk. Very classic. Here it comes.
You are clear outbound. Take the green.
You are cleared outbound. Deep voice, giving us the clear signal to get on down the track. Let's start up the 4014. And there it is. One of our favorites. And a big toot toot. And listen to these monsters. They are ready to go. They are ready to pull. Listen, I don't have any ore cars, so I put a bunch of tanks on the back of the Yellowstone, which is awesome. And for everyone who's been fortunate enough to ride the 4014 across the country this year, I put the Union Pacific passenger cars. Little excursion experience. Let's move them out. I love it. Just love it. Enjoy. I always have such a blast running these massive engines. As you know, they are some of my favorite trains to run, and they're always exciting when you're watching all of the different components moving. Just massive machines. As always, a huge thank you to all of my subscribers. We're almost at 10,000, so if you've been watching and haven't had a chance to click the subscribe button, click it now. I truly appreciate everyone's support. My name is Chris, and this is RBP Trains. Have a great weekend.